Okay.
now, really, if that's fine.
Okay.
So I'll just leave you to introduce yourself and start. I'm just going to start recording
Okay.
this session.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay. Okay. So let's start presenting our starts share screen now. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Maybe if you can put your microphone with a little bit more of volume. Sorry, my light is so strong.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. Okay. Uh, okay. I hope everyone can hear my voice clear. Yeah. Okay. Okay. My name is William Achal Mustari. That's my full name, and I use my uh, call name from my colleague and my friends here, Billy. And I'm from Indonesia, from K Islands. Indonesia is located in the eastern part of Indonesia in Southeast Maluku. Today, I'll be asked to talk about my study here in Indonesia, funded by CSF on Marine Fellowship Program 2021-2022. There are 10 of fellows this year that being funded by GSF, and this is my study title of study is we are conducting study to measure the importance and the benefit of MPA marine protected area in Kai Islands, Maluku, for sustainability in marine sector. So I'm the leader of our team, and this will be our 4th year of the study to choose the certain part of our region or the certain water of our region to serve as the marine protected area. So this will be our 4th year, and we're lucky that we funded by GSF, and the other previous 3 years we funded by our government. So we are lucky here, and actually I'm not really have any background on environmental economy or economy per se, because most of my study related to agro-industry and supply chain logistics in marine fisheries community. But because our study now being served as an input to the regional House of Representative in our region to form the MPA that we have proposed to become a regional bill. So our local representative asked us to provide the real income, the real number that the impact of MPA to our regional economy. So because out of my 14 here, we don't really have any closer field to the economy. So I step up as the leader. So we are once again thank the CSF to not only provide the fund but also provide us with the work 2 weeks workshop to really enrich our knowledge and how conducted the study uh, in environmental and using the economic tools. And this is my expertise. I also do some review for brain policy and also and some other stuff that I do. Okay, so this is where I work at Tuas State Physics Polytechnic. We are the research and higher education institution focusing on vocational education, and because we are located in small islands region inside archipelagic country, or maybe the one of the largest archipelagic country in the world, so we are focused our field expertise and our curriculum in related to the small islands in related to marine fisheries in small islands, so we can distinct ourselves with other research institutes in our country and in the world, because yeah, we are have to work our way through to the location that we are in. So we can provide more to our country, especially when the fisheries and marine sector should be the leader of the economic in our country. But in fact, we are not. So maybe we can provide some input for the development planning especially in marine and fishery sector. So here, this is our study location, and this is where I am right now in K Islands. We're located in southeast part of Maluku province, and we're actually closer to Australia than to Jakarta or Bali, let's say, because we are uh, a very remote island. That I used to say that we are the third world region inside third world country because we that really remote. Then the then I wrote the other day on the national newspaper here in Indonesia that for the first time in the history of the country that we have the advantage of our location because due to this pandemic, the COVID pandemic, we're still in it, and the impact of the pandemic, it can slower to reach our region due to our location. But yeah, currently we started to feel the heat of the pandemic because here in Indonesia we are the now maybe the epicenter of the COVID uh, pandemic in Asia or maybe the world because we are leading the case and casualty of the COVID pandemic. So yeah, this is us, and yeah, maybe you can figure out because the small islands and archipelagic and tropical islands. So we do have several spots of marine ecotourism. We have more than dozen of waterfall. We have sandbar here. We have uh, uh, gorgeous underwater scene. We have coral reefs. We have one of the smoothest white sand in the world, as they say, as some study published a few years ago. So we are proud here. So maybe after the pandemic, maybe you guys can come here and visit our region and maybe conduct some research because we have a lot of interesting stuff, especially related to marine and fisheries aspect in here. So can really need some help too from the scientists and researchers around the world. And here, will move to the my study. And before that, I will give some overview on what is really happening and the empirical condition of K Islands which is right now that as we know that as I previously mentioned before that we are a small island region and we are kind of remote, really remote island, so we do rely more on community-based economy because most of our coastal community are living in coastal area. So since I can remember, since my elders, my grandfather, my father, they really rely. Even my father able to put us in school through the fisheries. Even his father before that. So because we do really highly depend on the sea, and therefore we have to preserve our marine and fish resources. But by doing so, we propose the marine protected area because that's the common uh, activity that being used and being uh, uh, used around the world to protect the area. And as I also previously before that, we already conduct our study for 4 years. So this is the fourth year. So we already started in 2018, and we have uh, our location for our marine protected area. So we choose the location based on three main factors, based on the environmental factor and all marine characteristic, the socio-cultural because we're living in the high use of local wisdom. So we do need to consider that if anything to work in here, we have to consider the social cultural factor, and also we have to also consider the socio-economic factor in terms of how the coastal community behave in terms of their fishing ground, the location that they used to go to catch a fish, the fishing gears, anything related to that. So we certainly very lucky because we have our location that located in the local kingdom, based on local wisdom here, that really have a, a, a minimum history of social conflict. So we have, and also at the same location, the level of chlorophyll A also very high, and also we have the most dense coral reef on that same location, and also seagrass, and some amount of mangrove forest. So we are very lucky, and we are already have a location, and we already propose our research to the, as I also said before, to the regular House of Representatives, and it's been to almost 1.5 years being discussed in the House of Representatives to become a legal formal regular bill. So our MP allocation will be formalized, and we have a binding power, so everyone here can really follow the 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 the, the MPA that really we propose in our bill. And by doing so, there's a sorry, when we are discussing our bill last year, before in the early part of the pandemic, the one of the member of the regular representative asked us, what is the impact if we protect that area? What is the impact to our regional economy, and what is the number? What is the money that really can impact our coastal community economy? And we do not have answer on that, because we don't really, our first initial study is just to provide a location based on these criteria, and we don't really have a clue to, or we at the time we don't have a clue to will provide a real number, so it will make it easier to policymakers to really do and to take it seriously to our proposed MPI, and that trigger this first study. And when we decided to conduct this study, and there's an opening for a marine influencing program from CSF Indonesia, and we apply, and lucky we are get it, and the CSF really help us by guiding our step of the way until our study is over. So because this is our fourth study and we already have our proposed location, the fourth year of our study here is focused on measure the benefit and the importance of MPA in our region, and also provide the monetary number, really that being asked by the member of our regular House of Representatives. And the specific goal is to measure the economic impact of the MPA to our region, and also to provide some payment vehicle and measure the willingness to pay from the coastal community to marine protected area. Because we, as I previously mentioned before, I should say that we are a third world region inside third world country, so our region doesn't really have a large money to or extra money to spend on this new program that really costly. So we have to have like a plan to dealing with the financing problem of the MPA. So we added to this study. So by doing so, we use two part of our study, which is the first one is to measure the perception on supporting MPA, and to obtain the economic impact of the MPA. And the first part of the first time, we are using a multivariate analysis and hierarchical regression analysis. So to measure the perception, because as we know that the perception of supporting MPA is very complex, especially added with the fact that most of the coastal community in our region is really rely on the coastal community, and there's a socio-cultural very complicated factor related to it. So in addition to the other latent factor that really related to the MPA, and that's why we using MCA and clinical regression analysis, and also for MPA we using cost benefit analysis to uh, find a, a, a real impact by not only calculating the financial impact but also the environmental impact. And also for MPA we use a choice modeling to measure the expected price of each attribute that related to the MPA. So the data collection should be started 2 months ago, but during the uncertain of the COVID pandemic and also the weather in here really kind of uncertain, because so we haven't really start our data collection because those lateral obstacle, and our data collection will and should be conducted by survey and using questionnaire and FGDs, and our stakeholder or our subject of our study will be local government, traditional leader, villages, and coastal community. So this is really the setting of our study. And for the first part, which is the perception, I'm using MCA, which is I'm using a hybrid MCA for with with analytical process and fuzzy Devatel. So I can really mapping those based on these five cluster, which are attributes that really act as supportive to the positive perception of MPA in our region, and which one is the negative influence. So the use of MPA really can really provide me on that, because MCA really have a history or being widely used to really provide a crisp decision based on very complicated aspects. And for the second part on the percentage, we're using hierarchical. We using hierarchical here because we want to measure the impact of three sustainable aspects, which is social, economic, and environmental ecology, on the impact on the support of the MPA. So we can view what is really from the three aspects of sustainability, which one that really have a greater impact on the support of the coastal community to the MPA. And for the cost benefit analysis, we with the help of CSF, we already mapping these 12 factors for benefits, and how we conduct or how we collect the data, and also 10 cost items is from mangrove restoration, seagrass restoration, forest restoration, and to the costs that appear in fishing ground. So this will be our economic impact for CBA. And for the choice modeling, we using three scenario. The first one is status quo. The second one is only no taxon, and the third one is the full MPA. And this sample of our choice set, we have 64 combination of choice set with consists of 16 blocks of choice set. So we hope that we can start very soon, because the pandemic really start to take an effect in our region. So we hope that we can, because we have a lot of work to do in the span of 1 year here. Okay, and for the our program, the CSF Foundation really helped us a lot by providing a guidance, mentoring also. So every fellow here, we have 10 fellow. It is provided and being accompanied by one very expertise mentor that really help us a lot. And CSF Foundation keep guiding us, keep helping us every time we have a hiccup on our field. They really check up and already provide us with this schedule here, so we can rotate, so we can really we can really focus on our study and our research, because we know that every time we need something, that CSF will provide the help. We're really grateful for CSF for doing this good work. And also now, and for my final remark, I really try to emphasize more on the use of economic tools, especially for the environmentalists, as we are, because we are mostly researchers here, or maybe the social worker, or NGO, right, related to which is very concerned on conservation of natural resources. And as our TSF David Johnson used to say, that market can be our friend. So economic tool can be as a tool, can help us to achieve our costs. So like I perfectly understood that when environmentalists can really put a number on every aspect that really think that it is important, then we will have a same language that we can speak to other people in the world, because especially for policy maker and other manufacturer, because they only they only measure something based on money. So when we have that number, then we can really speak on their language, so we can really have our cost to achieve being achieved. So yeah, and yeah, maybe that's it for me. And I will last but not least, on behalf of all fellow in CSF Indonesia, I would like to thank the David and Lucy Parker Foundation for funding our study through the CSF Indonesia, and also CSF International to really give a chance to share my study with you guys here. Thank you for me. Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Oh, hi,
Thank you
Bonnie.
so much, Willie.
Hi.
Hello,
Hello,
everyone. Hello. Sorry, I had to join late. There was a bit of a whole mess going on. I had to come back from an emergency trip to the veterinarian, so I'm back. But thank you, Willie. That was really interesting, and what a complex analysis you're tackling. I'm really impressed with all of the things that you're doing with your project, and the completeness that you're trying to address. So I want to first, and so thank you so much for joining us and for being willing to share your project midway.
Yeah.
as you're beginning, and sharing your approach, sharing what you're trying to do. That's really helpful. And Desta, thank you so much for your help
Thank you, Kim.
with this. So I'd love to see questions that you all have, general questions about, the area, the people, or about the analysis itself. Feel free, or sharing any connections to maybe something you're working on, or a region you're in. Any similarities would be interesting to hear about as well.
After that, we have.
Yeah. Hi, Kim and
Hi.
Willie.
Hello.
Yeah, Mama, I have a very stupid question here.
Those are our favorites.
Well, yeah, sorry, thanks. So I understand that you are doing a very interesting job and research over there. So how about, do you have any measures on the direct compensation on the local community? Even though the MPA might bring some benefits to the local economy, but do you design any research on the, direct like subsidies to the natural reserves of the local villages?
Okay. That's what. Currently we are not, but maybe we can. One of our purpose of the study is to also provide a payment vehicle by measuring the willingness to pay from the cost of living to the MPA in our region. So maybe when this program is actually that maybe in the few years that this MPA is happening and the progress happening, maybe we can use that payment to really maybe allocate some of those to really help the coastal community that really have an impact, another impact when we like forbid them to access the certain area. Maybe and also maybe we can like we can use that input to propose to our regional House of Representatives to really provide some of the compensation to not only the environmental but also the coastal community that live in the near of our MPA location. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This-
cheers.
Yeah, this makes me think of something. This brings up a lot of interesting issues, I think, and I'm curious, Lily, just following on Li Wei's question, we actually worked on a study with, for the Nature Conservancy, looking at different kinds of sort of fee arrangements and incentive programs with communities related to protected areas. And we looked all over the world, looked at examples, looked at where did they seem to be working well, what were some of the factors where there was some sort of incentive, ways to incentivize the community to continue their stewardship, but specifically related to protected areas. And it was interesting because what we found, and I'm curious what the situation is there, and I apologize if you've already shared this and I missed it. We found that there were different degrees to which the community was involved in either management or rights over the area itself that was either close to the protected area, and then there was how much they were involved in whatever fees might be collected, and it was almost always related to tourism. Most protected area financial mechanisms were related to tourism, and then so we developed, just very broadly, kind of a low level of involvement was when the communities, maybe they only received some portion of the fees. And maybe another level of involvement is where they had some role, they were, maybe they were employed as guides, or they had some other role in the protected area or in maybe the tourism business. And then kind of the highest level is where they actually were owners of tourism enterprises, and so they were actually engaged and had more of an ownership, maybe management role in the tourism that was collecting the fees. So it's kind of a spectrum of involvement. Yeah. It was really interesting to look at, all over the world, where is this working, where is it successful, and a lot of it comes down to the distribution of benefits to the community. Yeah. Who gets the benefits, especially when it's financial, it gets really tricky. So I'm just sort of curious what your thoughts on that.
Yeah. That's our initial thoughts, because we think that one of the most successful MPA in Indonesia is located in Raja Ampat, and they really they use the tourism as the fund for the sustainability of the MPA. So, and also really drive the cost, the local economy that really impact. So we because this is just our still ongoing process. Maybe when it's really happening, then we do really use that, because as I previously mentioned in my presentation, that that same location is one of the dense coral reef in our region. So we do have some sort of potential to really use that as some form of the funding and financial to our region.
Yeah, interesting. We come up with profiles of these different examples that I'm happy to share with or with you, if anybody in the course is interested. They were just nice examples to see how people develop the systems and kind of what the strengths were, what the challenges were. It might be interesting. I noticed Jessie, and welcome, Jessie. We're so glad you're able to join us full force now.
Yes, I am so happy that I can.
Good. Welcome.
Thank
Jessie is in Belize, another place with a beautiful coral reefs and ocean. But you put something in the chat. I didn't know if you wanted to share anything about your perspective on this, because I know that you have done a lot of work on community involvement in sanctuaries and protected areas.
Yes, actually, I am the president of the Community Baboon Sanctuary Women's Group that manages the Community Baboon Sanctuary. The sanctuary actually was founded in 1985 by Dr. Robert Harwich from Gainesville, Wisconsin, and he did his research on the black howler monkeys in Mexico and Guatemala and Costa Rica, and he saw a film that was done by Richard and Carol Foster on Amate, the Great Fig Tree. So that brought him to Belize, and he did his research from 1981 to 1985, and he found out that that area had the largest population of black howler monkeys. So we went about, he approached us, we were the community leaders at the time, the village council, which is a little government of the village, you know. And so he said, he brought his research and he said, what do you think about creating a sanctuary for these monkeys? And it was a wonderful idea. We invited 12 landowners to that meeting, and all we asked them to do was to leave habitats for the monkeys on their property, like aerial pathways, so they can grass freely, not to cut the trees that the monkeys eat for food, not to clear cut the riverbank because of erosions. So there were simple pledges that we asked them to do voluntary. So this is a voluntary grassroots organization. And since 1985, the monkey population have grown from 500 monkeys to over 5,000 monkeys in 2011 when we did the census. However, what we do to try to find so that the landowners who are doing this wonderful job can benefit, we try to do alternative livelihood projects with them. We provide like scholarship to their children, going to high school. Some of them are engaged in fish farming, backyard gardening, animal husbandry, you know. So those are the things that we try to do so that they can have some benefits for what they are doing in protecting this area, this, you know, for the monkeys.
Okay, that's nice.
Yeah, that's terrific. It's great to learn about.
And so
that.
what I shared just now was a case study that we did for the Equator Initiative, where we won that prize in 2017.
That's great.
You can take a look at it if any of you want to take a look at it, you know, but I would be happy to share more maybe on another day or something about the work that we do there. And even though it's a women's group, it didn't start with us. It started under the Belize Audubon Society, and then they started to train the local people to take it over. But there were only men involved in it because men were the landowners. Most of the land title back then, and so about 3% maybe were women who own property. And like any other organization, we had our little challenges, and so after 13 years, the sanctuary was eventually closed because of poor management issues and so on. Me, from being there from the very beginning, I said, you know what, I just couldn't sit here and let it just go to waste. So I started to recruit women from the area, and I said, you know what, we are managers of our homes. We take care of everything, you know. Why not just pull ourselves together and see what we can do. And so we did that, and we lobbied the landowners to give us the mandate to take over the management of the sanctuary, and we did that in 1998. And so we are still here today. And so we have a great balance when it comes to gender and diversity. We try to practice those within the CBS. It's only 20 square miles of sanctuary land along the Bilisol River, but that's the habitat of the monkeys. So we are looking to expand the sanctuary to involve other communities along the way, since the monkey population is spreading, all over the place. So we are looking at expansion.
That's a great,
That's
great story, great example.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Other questions or comments? Any of you? Are any of you working on NPAs at all in your work?
Hi.
Hi, Rati.
Sorry, Christy. Kim, can I? Hi. Morning.
Morning.
Just want to share. It's happened that TNC, and also with CI and WWF built an MPA in the Raja Ampat, which have been told before, and then we together built an organization. It's called Public Service Agency. It's also together with the government, and through this we call it BLUD. Through the BLUD, we are able to fundraise from abroad quite significant money, so it could be allocated as an endowment fund to this organization. So I don't know whether or not that your colleague, CSF, that conducting a program, probably he could also liaise with our programs, people, PIC of the program in Raja Ampat, so could have share experience, how we develop the BLUD in Raja Ampat.
That would be great. That would be great.
Yeah, so you can email me,
Okay.
and then I will chat with you separately.
Okay. Thank you.
Next week.
Great. And thank you, Rachi. And I have some points to share on that too, but first let me let Jenny, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Kim. Right, Rati, I'm really interested about this public service unit because it's quite new in Indonesia. And this is also, could you share a little bit with us how you established the structure, and also how, because the PL in Indonesia we call it PLU, and so the PLU can also be profit-oriented unit also, but also can manage public funding. So can you share with us how you establish the structure related with ministries or agencies in Raja Ampat, and how the endowment fund, how you get it, raising the funding and mobilizing that, and then how you channeling to the beneficiaries in the landscape.
Okay, thank you, Jenny. So, first is, of course, yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Well, after we do the multi-stakeholder mapping first, and then we try to identify who is the stakeholder related or related stakeholder to these issues, and we also engage community as well, And the first time is we really get commitment from community. That's the key of this BLUD building. And then after we get commitment from the community through our methods, it's called CGAP. It's Inspiring Action for Change. We then engage intensively with the government after we conduct a study that if we want this organization become sustained, we need to link with the government. And because there is a mechanism, it's called BLU, or Public Service Organization. Then we advocating to the government on the importance that government involved in this process. Of course, we come up with several studies, and then we come up with also the business models of this. And we also see, because there is a need to enforce the regulation, the policy, and that's why we choose BLUD. Like Jenny said, that there is a flexibility in building for the BLUD. One, they could get government allocated budget. It's not much, but at least there is a budget from government. And then they could also reaching out external funding, like from corporate social responsibility from the private, and also could reaching out donors agencies like USA and Norway and others agencies. So after we able to advocating to the local government and presented the model, they are agreed to continue the process, because BLU is a government authority, so it should get governor acceptance, and the governor should publish or issue the decree, and then it should also go up to the domestic affairs ministry before it really formally established.
Formalized.
And currently, besides we got funding from private sector, there is an opportunity for us to also enter the scheme of the debt for nature swap. So that's the process, Jane.
Very
Great.
interesting.
It's a really interesting case. And when we were looking at this, and Rati, please correct me if we were wrong, there were a couple really interesting kind of enabling conditions or things that were happening. And one of the things you were mentioning is that real commitment and work at the community level, and that real strong local leadership. There was, I think it's the Adat leaders. They're still strong.
Yes.
So there's still a strong kind of tradition of leadership, and that was really important to have that kind of community leadership there. And then at the same time, it took almost what we were told. It took almost 7 years for the process of working at the national policy level to get the national government to allow them to collect fees and sell the recreational experience as a service. So there's this whole work also at a national policy level. And you also had a very supportive governor at the provincial level who helped advocate at the national policy level. And so we were talking about this in comparison to Bali. And one of the things that someone mentioned is in Bali, it's really challenging to do the same thing because you have so many powerful vested interests already there who are kind of blocking it. And so there's an interesting combination of factors in the development of this mechanism. and they also renamed it an ecosystem stewardship fee, I think. And one of the things they were also trying to do was to coordinate so that every community wasn't collecting separate entrance fees. So they're trying to make it a coordinated entrance fee. And what I've heard, Rati, and tell me if this is true, that some of the communities are less happy because their portion that they get now is maybe less than what they were charging before, or maybe they're still trying to charge. So there's, those interesting dynamics, but, trying to make it this real coordinated effort. It's a pretty incredible story of the work at all those levels. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yes, Kim, and then yes, Jenny, there is an allocation budget from the government. I mean, the head of the BLU, I mean, the organization is public service agents officers, and they only need 2 from public service officers, but the rest could be professional. So we also help them with the manual system operation procedure on the finance component, on the HR aspect, and many other things. So we make sure that everything is in place. So the government, it's just to review it and then decide it, and then if they are agree and they're willing to, they could do the rest. So it's like the enabling condition we provided before, and the mechanism the BLU also work with the community. So every protection of the conservation area and any other thing like the fraud that could be resulting from the activities of the fisheries and others is conducted by the community. So the organization, the BLU, is working in partnership with community, and the community could also can able to write a proposal as well, and we will. The organization will review it and then disperse the fund for this, for any supporting activities that will provide benefit to this area. So it's like waste management and others.
Thanks. That's great.
That's
Yeah, and we can provide a little bit more information. We put together a summary of kind of a fact sheet about Raja Ampat as part of that study we can share, although I'm sure Rati has some information that you can share.
It's
very
interesting.
Yeah, that's great. Willie, I'm curious, what has been the initial reactions around maybe perceived, or are there any concerns about restrictions on fishing by the community? How have you tried to navigate that? Are people worried that this NPA is a bad idea and they're not going to be able to go fishing where they want to go fishing? Or are they supportive because they feel like it's going to keep outsiders from going into their area? Or what's the dynamic there?
Yeah. So prior to our study, we are already, like in 2017, we already start like measuring the preliminary perception on the idea of marine conservation, and most of them is really in general they have a very positive perception on this matter. But when we really like dive into the actual what is the marine conservation and MPA concept, and then there's some pushback from the coastal community because, well, okay, this is our land and you cannot, like every government cannot really forbid us to this. So what we do is we persuade them by using to kind of strategy. The first one is by like also happening in Raja Ampat that we like we ask the local elders to really persuade that other leaders in here to persuade the community, and also the second part is to like given the real fact that really happening, because if we like we used to use this explanation when we have encounter with some of the resistance from the coastal community. So we just said, if we compare to like 10 years or 20 years ago, the it is become harder for local fishermen to catch a fish closer to their village, and they, oh yeah, so that's why we need to protect some sort of the conservation. So okay, they will change their really wall, and they just so yeah, that's the, so the general response is currently very positive. So we, so the yeah, yeah, the main homework that we have to think is that how we can really reimburse the local economy. So this sharing really helped me a lot to really figure out what we should do, and we should talk to the regional House of Representatives to really put on that bill, so it become a legal form of activity. So can force the local government to really put some money in our MPA. So yeah, that's it, Kim.
Great, thank you, thank you. Well, just I wanted to ask, was there something you wanted to show before we get to the end of our time?
No, actually, Kim, I think what I wanted to show is that just a glimpse on some of Indonesia's work related to research, and maybe this can be useful, especially because we have, I think, two participants from Indonesia here.
Right.
Okay, so can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
So this is actually how CSF works in Indonesia.
Okay.
So basically, Willie's research is a part of our many research and studies in Indonesia. So the way we work here is that we always relate the research with the economy courses. So if you see in every region in Indonesia, every time we conduct course like this, then it almost always followed by a series of research, and what we are trying to do, just like we are trying to support Willy, is trying to introduce economic tools into fisheries and also forestry research. So hopefully this can make for a meaningful and stronger argument for any challenges or issues faced by our partners in the field. I guess that's in a summary, Kim. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Yeah, it's great to have just any efforts to combine kind of the research with building that awareness with people working in conservation or with policymakers. I know David Johnson will emphasize we need to help the people making decisions understand these ideas. But that's a really interesting project, and it's great that it's really embedded in a policy process. And we're going to talk about valuation and cost-benefit analysis next week. And so this is a really nice example because you shared a lot around valuation and cost-benefit analysis, and it's important that it's embedded in a decision-making process and that you know exactly how your results are feeding into decisions, so that it's not just numbers you're creating that people are saying, well, that's nice, so that's terrific. And also this is related to incentives and finance mechanisms. So this example really, I think, encapsulates kind of the whole rest of the course that we'll be talking about all of these aspects in some way. So I think it's a really nice example about how you kind of have to pull all these things together to make this work. So well, any final questions or comments from anyone on the call here before we end for today? No other comments? Okay. All right. Well, thank you again, Willie. And would you be willing to share maybe a PDF of the presentation?
Yes.
I could post it on the course platform.
Okay.
Terrific. That would be great. Good. All right. Well, does anyone have anything else they want to say? Any fun plans for the weekend? Besides our social events tomorrow or tonight, some of you, I know it's going to be the highlight of your weekend. Great. All right. Good. Okay. Well, then I think we will close the session. But thank you all so much for joining. I know for some of you it might be very late or very early. And thank you again, Willie, for your willingness to join us. It's really interesting.
Thank you.
And we'll make the recording of this available to the larger group of participants that can't make this time so that they can see it. It's a really interesting study.
Thank you.
So, terima kasih.
Terima
Thank
kasih.
you.
Terima kasih.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Have a good weekend,
Okay.
everyone.
I might see
Okay.
Thank
some
you
of you
very much.
again
Okay.
tomorrow.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
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 Bye.